Do you agree that he should be number one ranked pound for pound? Because now he's number one, and Jon Jones has been tweeting because now Jon's number two.
Jon Jones is pissed, let me tell you. You know what? Brian and I, front row Brian and I, we have a podcast together on the Rockfin Network, which is eventually where I think you guys should put your content. But that's a conversation for another day. I just put up the post. We do these audiograms. I just put it on my Instagram here, where we argue it. I lean Khabib. He leans Jon. I'm not dumb enough to realize that Jon has a very, very compelling argument. He definitely does. Just for me, the performance-enhancing failures, drug test failures, multiple times, which Khabib never had. And Khabib's Russian, so he might be cheating, but he got a good guy to get away with it or something. I'm not sure. With the out of the cage stuff, and then with the last few fights, which a lot of people think he lost the Reyes fight, and then obviously the Thiago Santos fight was very close. Man, Khabib was just kind of, I don't want to say flawless, but he kind of was flawless in his career.
Yeah, I mean, here's where I stand on this, because we've had both Jeff Nowitzki and Dana White in the studio and this podcast, and Jon Jones has come up both times. From the Jeff Nowitzki standpoint, we've talked about the drug testing and everything like that, the picograms and everything like that. But honestly, what Jon Jones has really been busted for has not really been the performance-enhancing drugs. It's been the
he did once, right?
Well, it was in the system, and then I rewatched the interview, and I rewatched Jeff Nowitzki's interview, because remember UFC 232, he had served that 15-month suspension, and then they found that the trace amounts where it would be like if you put salt in like a Olympic-sized swimming pool, it would just be from a lace supplement.
I like you're just covering for him on that one, Schmo.
Well, look, hey, I'm not in schmo form right now, Ben, but look, at the end of the day, I understand that, and I'll listen to both sides of the argument. For the pound-for-pound rankings, for how Jon has come off his most recent performances, like what you just said with the Reyes fight, the Thiago Santos fight, and then how Khabib just dominates his opponents, I'm not upset or anything disagreeing with Khabib being number one pound for pound in the world. Here's what does get me, though. For people just now automatically anointing Khabib the GOAT, the greatest MMA fighter, UFC fighter, you name it, of all time, I find that pretty kind of, just what the situation we're in modern times. We live in a society. It's what would you done with me lately? Dana White's been on this podcast. Fair. I said, who's your Mount Rushmore of MMA? He puts his Mount Rushmore list. Khabib was not on it. Jon Jones is his GOAT. Yes, and Jon Jones is Dana White's GOAT. And now Jon Jones is not Dana White's GOAT, it's Khabib's GOAT. So now you're trying to sit here and tell me that Justin Gaethje, and he's
Dana
an
White
amazing
has never
fighter.
changed his mind or told a lie.
Well, look, I love Justin Gaethje. He's a fantastic fighter. Interim lightweight champion. He might become the lightweight champion. But you're trying to tell me that beating Justin Gaethje now makes Khabib Nurmagomedov the GOAT of MMA, surpassing a GSP and Anderson Silva or a Jon Jones. That body of work. 4 title defenses versus a Jon Jones who has 15. I think GSP has 13. Now you're trying to tell me Khabib's the GOAT?
Yeah. It's a great argument. The other thing that I did not realize, is that I remember Khabib didn't fight from April of 2014 to April of 2016, and I guess I blanked that he was out for that long until I looked at it last night. But I remember Anthony Pettis. I was in the cage when he defended his. Well, I was in the cage. I was next to the cage when he defended his title against Gilbert Melendez in December of 2014, and I very, very clearly remember thinking Khabib was front row, and I remember thinking Khabib is going to be next for Anthony, and I'm going to be helping Anthony prepare because obviously my style is very similar to what Khabib does. And then he didn't actually win the title until I believe 2017. So it kind of is wild how he was at that level and he didn't get the title belt till much, much later.
Actually,
for example, go ahead.
It was 2018 against Ally Quinta.
Yeah, even worse. And the guy who won the title from Anthony in March of 15 was RDA, and Khabib had shut out RDA in April of 2014. That was the last fight before that layoff. So, there's an easy argument to be made saying that, Khabib could have potentially won the title in 2015 and held it, which, I think would make his argument more compelling for GOAT.